We did a couple of years ago in my science, myth, and magic class. We did a collective constellation for Donald Trump before the 2020 election. And in that constellation, we could really see how strong the entanglement is with his mother. That if you listen to him speak, it's the voice of his mother speaking. He's identified with the father, the landlord, and the businessman, and that's kind of what he presents to the world. That's how he wants to be seen.
The external.
Right. But if you really listen to the syntax and the way that he's speaking with his mother's voice. And his mother's was a victim of the Scottish landlord. She was a victim of what's known in Scotland as the Highland clearances, which was when a movement of landlords displaced by the tens and hundreds of thousands the Scottish people who were at the time were the most magical and spiritually oriented Gaelic people that had existed. They were lived with the land, the plants, the animals, with spirit, and their leaders were custodians of the people and the land, and had been for many centuries. And they were corrupted by the English, by the English mercenaries, and turned from custodial kings into landlords, and they displaced the people. They recognized that the land generated more cash when it was populated with sheep than with people living there who were sustaining themselves. And so the United States is filled with Scottish refugees, the whole Deep South, the whole red state constituents base. A large part are descendants of these Scottish refugees. And Donald Trump's mother, Mary Trump, was also a Scottish refugee living in Scotland before she came to New York. And they hated landlords. And when Donald Trump came back to visit his mother's hometown, they would have nothing to do with him because she had married a landlord, and he was a slumlord in New York City. And he was shut out. People wouldn't even talk to him because they felt betrayed by her marrying a landlord and then becoming a slumlord in New York City. I don't know how I don't know how I got into this story, but he is all of this, all this bravado and this domination is all coming through the victim perpetrator bond of his mother and his mother's family.
From being expelled from their home in Scotland.
Right. And so he is a child of a landlord and a woman whose family despised landlords. And he is trying to mediate. So at once he's a big landlord, and the other side, through his mother's voice, he speaks as the voice of the people. He's kind of speaking to the displaced, impoverished descendants of the Highland clearances. This is his voting bloc in these red states. And he's speaking to them like he's one of them through his mother's voice. And then he is also behaving like a slumlord who is just in it for themselves. That his grandfather owned brothels. So the original family fortune was made from brothels. So the most exploitative of men and women. And that was a base of the family fortune. And then it became real estate in New York. And now he has this persona where he is both the rich uncle who's going to take care of everybody, and he is also the enraged voice of the displaced. He feels into that perfectly. So anything comes out of his mouth, it doesn't matter. The fact that it's all lies is because he's feeling the black heart. He's just with the black heart and speaking in a way that resonates with the black heart of his constituents. And nobody wants to speak to them. They feel unseen and unheard, but he has their number, and through his mother and her lineage is able to connect with them in a really deep way.
And the black heart image is one of grief, a black heart of rage. What is that?
Let me feel into it. I'm surprised I used that term. Just give me a second.
No problem.
It's the feeling of the ones who had their lives destroyed, and now they want their vengeance.
Right. The black in mourning. We are mourning a tragedy, a loss. That's why our heart is black at the moment, like my T-shirt. And so we need to vanquish. We need to find some type of a revenge in order to appease the heart. Right.
Right. I like the January 6th rioters. We are going to storm the Capitol. We are taking our country back. So it's been stolen from us. And now we're going to come take it back, and we're going to attack the seat of power, and we're going to take it back for the people. So it's both violent and vengeful, but it also has this feeling of we were stolen from.
Right. In many ways, it is seeing through the eyes of the child that was hurt or first felt betrayed, and trying to mimic that child's heroic, magical thinking that I can do this, I can solve for my whole family, I can take care of this. Let's storm the Capitol. Let's do something else along those lines, right?
It's a very childish, right? It's like an adolescence, a young adolescence feeling, and but it kind of mimics the naivete of the peacemaker as well. Like, I'm going to go live in Bethlehem, and that's going to do something. Didn't do a damn thing. It was a great experience for me personally, and for the people I met. But it was. I thought at the time that these forces of war were built up from small individual movements, and that if you changed enough at the individual level, it would be reflected in the collective level. But at the collective level, it has an existing power structure which is pretty inoculated against the voice of the people. People protesting in the street and all this stuff. It doesn't really penetrate through to the ones who are profiting, and doesn't slow them down in any way.
That's right.